Okay, so we have got this indication. We are now live. Welcome to the virtual edition of New Delhi World Book Fair. I am Kumar Vikram. I am Senior Editor at National Book Trust India and also look after the international outreach programs of the Trust. And this virtual edition has been going on from started on 6th March and it will end tomorrow. This is a new experience for us and for all the publishing world has been experiencing these kinds of virtual book fairs, and we thought of discussing this very aspect. And there are a lot of discussions, and our idea is to go beyond some of the discussions which have been going for months, and what are the emerging perspectives finally, and how do we see ourselves in the next 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. And as you may be knowing, National Book Trust India is the national body for book publishing and book promotion of the Government of India. So we have stakes both in publishing, and we are also the organizers of the biggest book fair of Afro-Asian region, the New Delhi World Book Fair. We have been organizing it since 1972. So we have stakes, of course, in organizing international book fairs, and then we also organize domestic book fairs, and that aspect has also not been touched due to these pandemic days. I'm happy to introduce I would say, the galaxy of panelists who are with us. Uh, Mr. Robert Morgan. He has been the publisher and general manager of Bookland Press in Toronto, Canada since 2006. In addition, he has accumulated over 20 years of experience in this field, working as both a book publisher and publishing business consultant. And during that time, he has successfully managed many complex publishing projects in North America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Mr. Morgan has a passion for publishing books written by culturally diverse authors and indigenous authors from Canada and around the world. Welcome, Mr. Morgan. And we have, I'm sorry for if I'm mispronouncing, this is Gvantsa Jobava. So, is serving the publishing industry at a national and international levels. She holds 3 major offices. She is editor and international relations manager of Intellective Publishing and Artanuzi Publishing. She is also deputy chairperson at Georgian Publishers and Booksellers Association and executive committee and Freedom to Publish committee member at International Publishers Association. She is also the chair of the Literacy Task Force in IPA Inclusive Publishing and Literacy Committee. She is the organizer of Tbilisi International Book Fair, Georgia, and a member of Women Publishers International Network, Publish Her. In 2020, she joined Penn, Georgia. Welcome, Ms. Jobava, and it's very good that we are holding the discussion on International Women's Day, and you have a special relationship with the publisher. We have Alexandra Büchler. She's Director of Literature Across Frontiers, European Platform for Literary Exchange, Translation and Policy Debate, based in Wales, United Kingdom. She co-founded the Literary Translation Centre at the London Book Fair and has contributed to the program of several international book fairs, including Frankfurt's Welchem Center for Literature, Translation and Politics, where LFA holds an annual debate. She has served on the executive committee of the Translators Association in UK and of the European Arts Advocacy Platform, Culture Action Europe. She is a founding board member of the European Civil Society Platform for Multilingualism and serves on Asia Pacific Writers and Translators Advisory Board. Welcome, Ms. Alexandra Büchler. And we are indeed privileged to have Mr. Andy Ventris, who has been able to join us at a very short notice. And he's the director of the London Book Fair and is responsible for both leading the team on the short-term delivery of the event as well as the future strategy of the brand. He has been managing larger-scale international events for a decade, and in that time has worked across multiple sectors, running events in challenging circumstances and establishing the new ways of reaching audiences with events. Welcome, Mr. Andy Ventris, and I have, of course, the pleasure to welcome our director, the director of the National Book Trust, Mr. Yuvraj Malik. The National Book Trust, as you know, the national body for book publishing and book promotion under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. He has served at various responsible positions in the Ministry of Home Affairs and also had a great stint with the United Nations some years back. I have pleasure to and privilege to welcome you. So the topic, as we have known and we have circulated and we understand it, I would like to start with Mr. Robert Morgan to give the publisher's perspective, and then I will come back to our director for a broader perspective from the point of view of India.
Thank you very much, Vikram. Greetings from beautiful Toronto, Canada. I would like to welcome our viewers from India and from around the world to this exciting event. I hope you will find this panel discussion useful, engaging, and enjoyable. And I personally very much look forward to sharing my ideas and perspectives on today's topic with you. I also would like to thank the New Delhi Book Fair and Mr. Kumar Vikram for inviting me to be a part of this online session. As you may know, India and Canada share significant and long-standing cultural and economic ties. And I'm very happy and honored to be one of the speakers today during the New Delhi World Book Fair, along with my many distinguished colleagues. This gives me a great opportunity to provide our viewers with a Canadian and North American perspective on today's topic of our panel discussion, which of course is the state of post-COVID-19 publishing and book fairs. Actually, March of 2021 marks the first anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic. I actually had to look it up, and the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 officially as a pandemic on March 11th, 2020. So almost exactly 1 year ago. It was a challenging year, to say the least, and I guess there's been enough said about all the challenging, but looking back to this year and also looking forward to the second half of 2021, as book publishing professionals, we have to ask ourselves, what lessons has the publishing industry learned during the past year, and what can we expect moving forward? When I talk to my colleagues in Canada and around the world, I usually ask them how their businesses are going now, or what important lessons have they learned during the pandemic, what are the changes they have made to their publishing operations, and of course, what are the expectations for the industry as we all continue to adapt to the impacts of the pandemic on the publishing landscape. There is no sugarcoating the situation we are in when it comes to the book publishing market right now. The publishing environment is very different in different parts of the world. And it goes without saying that some countries were able to weather the pandemic storm better than the others. But the lessons we have learned and still learning and will be learning moving forward have been very important to us. In the most part, I believe the publishing industry was able to adapt. It was able to evolve and to transform to the new reality of doing business in what we call the new normal. In my opinion, the innovation in the publishing business was the key to our industry's survival during the pandemic. Publishing companies that were able to innovate through the crisis are the ones that appear to come out the pandemic in much better position. I believe the key factors for success for the publishing companies in the near future there are several key points, I guess. First and foremost, going digital is as many aspects of the publishing business as possible. I think especially important in sales, marketing, and distribution. It's also important to find new ways to attract new customers and, of course, to stay in contact with the existing ones. Improving supply chain efficiencies and diversifying supply chain infrastructure on domestic and international markets seems to be the key. And implementing new and more efficient publishing workflow model and protocols, we find this very important and very useful for ourselves and for quite a few other companies here in Canada. We also learn and we keep learning how to manage our workforce, our sales channels, and our distribution operations virtually or in a hybrid environment. For example, in Canada, during the pandemic, especially last year, we saw a 67% growth in e-commerce in Canada, 67%, 2/3. It's a huge new segment of our customers that came into e-commerce during the pandemic. This was the new wave of customers who realized that while e-commerce is not perfect, especially when it comes to purchasing books, it certainly does not provide the same level of shopping experience as your usual friendly bookstore or supermarket around the corner, but it has really delivered on convenience and safety during pandemic. So that's my take on the lessons learned and what's to expect.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan, for your introductory remarks on the lessons learned. And in this context, I would request our director, Mr. Yuvraj Malik, to give us a kind of an overview about the responses which, as a national body, which NBT could come up with during the pandemic times, and also at the macro level, some kind of national policies or interventions which may benefit the publishers in the long term. So, these are, he will be talking at two levels from the level of the organization that he leads, and also from the perspective of the government, efforts towards it. Mr. Malik, sir.
Thank you so much, Kumar Vikramji. My apology for the esteemed panel for being late for a few minutes, but I welcome Mr. Robert, Ms. Gvantsa, Ms. Alexandra, and Mr. Andy. Thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this valuable session which we have. We are really missing. I wish it would have been a physical event and you all would have been invited to participate as a visitor. But nevertheless, it's a great beginning. It's a first edition of the virtual book fair, which people have been waiting and curiously expecting it to happen. Now, the way this COVID scenario has developed in last 8 to 10 months, the entire industry has gone into a spin. It has given new thoughts to the industry to think what is the way forward, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and how to move on with that path where everyone is able to capitalize on the gains. When this lockdown happened, everyone was fixed how to move on. No schools, Industry is highly dependent on the school segment, then also on the hard copy publishing segment. Everything was curtailed. But as you say that there's opportunity in every challenge and every crisis. So what NBT as a national premier institution of the country and the nodal agency of the publishing houses took this lead and told, yes, we can do in spite of COVID. And we brought a series of 7 books on how to cope up with socio and psychological impact of COVID. And a book series of 7 books for different age groups, school children, working women, old adults, and physically disabled. The idea was not to produce the content in a quick frame of time. It happened fastest in the world. We were the first to get in within 5 weeks of lockdown by doing day and night work. Idea was to give a message that there's a role for us to play in this society. We are not dealing with normal thing. We are dealing with a very sensitive domain. We have to understand it. Because whatever the byproduct which we have, our product is going to shape the mind of the nation. It is going to shape the mind of the citizen. It is going to shape the vision of the country. It is going to decide the fate of the world. So we are into the profession of being the knowledge partner of the country. So with this perspective, I feel all the publication people are a very important stakeholder in nation building. Now, when we take as the mandate of knowledge partner, automatically opportunities start coming in. For example, when the lockdown happened, India has undergone the biggest reform in the world. We have come up with education reforms known as National Education Policy 2020. Last 34 years after facing liberalization, privatization, globalization, economic, boom, everything, but the education reforms were awaited. Now we have introduced them, and there are 2, 3 important aspects. One, internationalization of education. 2, universalization of education. And third, the multilingual education aspects, along with the multidisciplinary approach. If you just take these 4 leaves with you, you will be able to make out what kind of opportunities which have come. So far, we have 22 languages registered officially into our constitution, Schedule 8. Now, you see 20 language combination, how many kind of books we are going to produce? Now we talk about multidisciplinary. All disciplinary approaches have a particular syllabus. When we go multidisciplinary, how many streams of new languages and new curriculum will come up? When we talk of internationalization, connect the Indian languages with international languages, because in 3 language formula which we follow now, 2 are Indian languages, 1 is a foreign language. If you try to integrate with the Indian language 22 and at least 1 foreign language, how many combinations are going to come up? So I personally feel this crisis has come up as an opportunity. I do agree there are limitations in the market. There's a limitations in promotions. There are limitations in production. There are limitations in content. But nevertheless, there are no limitations to human mind. There are no limitations to our vision. There are no limitations to our initiatives. We can find more than 1,000 opportunities to do every. If there's a will, there are more than a way. So I personally feel we as the nation builder, all of us, I feel proud of the industry, and we feel that we have a bigger role to play. It is undefined role. We can venture into any domain. When there was World War, people used to read war fictions. When there was IT boom, people used to go for space wars, science fiction. Now people are reading COVID stories, COVID novels, COVID, narratives, travelogues, these kind of. So what we have to do, we have to create a new mechanism. Of course, we have to diversify from digital e-publication and all kind of module. We have to produce the content. But one thing will prevail, that is quality of content. If you have quality of content, there's no dearth. The future is very bright for the industry. Second, we have to read the right time and the right place. What in marketing studies they call right place and right positioning. Our product has to be good, its price has to be good, its positioning has to be good, its promotion has to be good, and its purpose has to be good. When we all P are combined, then definitely we can show the way. And I'm a hardcore optimist. So challenge was there, we took it. NBT has evolved as a national player in this, and we are taking lead. I hope the other partner in the industry will share my view. Thank you so much, Vikramji.
Thank you, sir. We will take forward these ideas and pick up some points later on with the focus on how the new education policy, even though it was announced during the pandemic time, has been able to create a larger framework for not only for the publishers to innovate, but also maybe new players to come in, and we see how it will pan out. I have pleasure to invite Ms. Alexandra Büchler for her viewpoint. She has been dealing with literature and translations, and how does she view this particular aspect?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be with you, and I wish we could be at the Delhi Book Fair, not virtually, but in reality. It's not the first time I'm participating. I have spoken on panels before, and I have done some workshops with Indian publishers specifically about publishing translations. What to say about the pandemic? I agree with what the previous speaker said. It's a tragedy, but it's also a situation which has revealed the inventiveness and the resilience we have as humanity, if that's not too big a word. My organization works more at the arts and culture end of the spectrum. We work with publishers because we work with writing, we work with writers, translators, and of course with books. But we also work with festivals, and we have worked with a number of festivals in India. And our aim has always been to bring together actors from Europe and from India to exchange ideas, to work together, to collaborate. And we have launched a number of collaborative projects, mainly with writers and translators. The pandemic, as I said, has been a real challenge. It's almost meaningless to quote all the figures, the losses, and of course there have been losses to life, but also, you know, we're talking here about an industry, so we're looking at losses to businesses, but it is important to see what responses have been there. And again, you have already mentioned that. What I have seen from our point of view has been that obviously we have all gone digital, and there was this phase where we were trying to respond very quickly. We had to acquire new skills to operate in this new environment, but it has also given us some fantastic opportunities. It has given us access to events, to networks, to others, literally at the other end of the world. There are some new initiatives which I would like to mention, specifically the wonderful Publishers Without Borders, the network which now has more than, is it more than 4,000 members? Yes, I think so.
Almost 4,000, yes.
Oh, yes. And it's been a brilliant forum, which, you know, you can pop in and discuss, or you don't have to, but, you know, if you remember, it's there and you can talk to others. In India, there has been, and what I think is an important initiative, the Publishers Exchange set up by Neeta Gupta, herself a publisher, and also someone who organized the bookmark, the Jaipur bookmark, the business to business segment of the famous Jaipur festival. So that, what's significant about that network is that it brings together the publishers, Indian publishers who publish in languages other than English, and it gives them an opportunity to discuss, compare their experiences, and also to sell each other rights, which is something that has always been discussed as possibly a kind of gap in the whole Indian market, translation between Indian languages. Of course, there are many publishers who publish in English, but and what we want, us, outside India who don't speak Indian languages, we would like to see many more translations of Indian authors into English. So that's a challenge that somehow I think the pandemic has given us an opportunity to reflect on, what we could do. In Europe, there have been many various surveys, and you can look them up on the internet. The European Federation of Publishers has produced a survey. Aldous, the network of book fairs, has produced a survey. IPA, and I'm sure Gvantsa will refer to it, has produced a survey. So everybody has been asking and, getting figures and so on. But I think it's often the anecdotal evidence that really is very revealing. I also read some interesting articles in Scroll, the magazine that I really find very useful to find out what's happening in India. And there were some articles which were commissioned by Kanishka Gupta, the agent, a literary agent. So I think why I'm mentioning all this is that we have found ways to communicate digitally and to learn. And I'm not saying that we've had more time, because changing everything to operate digitally, and actually our work really revolves a lot around mobility of authors, of translators. And so we had to rethink everything we do. We have been running digital residencies and meetings, and have worked with festivals on their digital program. Another important initiative which really benefited from the pandemic is World Kid Lit. It's an initiative which I and a few others set up a couple of, I think, 4 years ago. It operates as a blog. It operates completely voluntarily, and it has a fantastic group of people running it. And it is a blog which promotes literature for children, books for children in translation into English. And it has really flourished during this tragic year. It has gained many followers. It has started a program of live events, and of course it has been doing what it does, promoting children's books. It runs months, which when we focus on children's books, it's called September is World Kidlit Months. So I would like to just mention these few initiatives as a way of saying, we really have to find ways of communicating. And also, I think that the pandemic has been beneficial for the environment. I remember walking around when we had the first lockdown, and actually I enjoyed the absence of cars from the roads and the clean air. In some cities, they reported, I remember there were dolphins swimming in the canals of Venice and so on. I mean, it has really transformed the globe. And it's something that, again, we have to keep in mind, that it gives us an opportunity to completely rethink how we live, how we operate, how we buy, what we buy. Do we need to be such consumers we were before? And perhaps, do we need to publish as many books as are being published? I have more to say on this topic, but I'll stop here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. I found this idea of digital residencies quite interesting. Maybe we can talk about it separately. And it's good that the Publishers Without Border initiative was also mentioned. We all are part of it in one way or the other, and some of the speakers here who have spoken at our virtual session have also, we have been able to connect through the Publishers Without Border. That's very important development. This topic is of course focused on emerging perspectives in publishing and book fairs. And we have two distinguished speakers here who represent book fairs of two different kinds. And we would like to have their perspective because, the disruption brought out by the pandemic on publishing has had its more visible and concrete impact on the physical book fairs, and we all have been got isolated from each other, and this entire concept of projecting your project, your products at a particular book fair, meeting people, networking, and we have been used to all that. Everything has gone for a toss. So first of all, I would like to invite Ms. Gvantsa Jobava, and then Andy Ventris, because from the director of London Book Fair, we'd like to have a broader perspective on the things, and from Ms. Jobava, who is also not only she represents the book fair, but she is also the chairperson of the Georgian Publishers, the Bookseller Association, and also has stakes in publishing. So a kind of a rounded viewpoint from her part, from the perspective of Georgia and that part of the world, would be very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, happy International Women's Day. As our moderator kindly mentioned, yes, I'm the part of the publisher network, which was created by amazing publisher, woman publisher Bodur Al-Qasimi, who is the president of the International Publishers Association right now. And today I just want to wish to have more women on the senior positions in the publishing, and of course all of them and all women all around the world. I wish freedom and independence. As for publishing and as for book fairs, yes, of course, for Georgia, as for the rest of the world, for our publishing, it was also a huge challenge. And also I'm happy that I'm the part of today's session, and I'm happy that first time in my life I'm participating in the New Delhi World Book Fair, and it's also a great honor. And I think that this is somehow the advantage of the pandemic as well, that we have more possibilities. At least virtually, we can be the part of many events all around the world. And I think that that's why we should somehow look positively on the results of the pandemic as well. So thanks to our hosts, of course, and thanks to all these brilliant panelists. It's a great honor to be together with you today on this session. As for Georgian publishing and book fairs, yes, traditionally we have our book fair at the end of May. So as soon as the pandemic started, we had this challenge: what should we do to hold the book fair physically or virtually? But very soon we understood that it's not possible to have the book fair, to hold the book fair physically, and we of course had it virtually. And it was a challenge because we had no idea how to do, what to do, and we were just learning, and we had very short period for it. But yes, if we discuss how it worked, of course, I think that after many virtual events on local level or international level, I think that the physical events can't be replaced by virtual events, because still there are a lot of advantages which the physical events have, but I think that we learned at least that we can have hybrid events. What we learned from our book fair, for example, because we saw that we had the new audiences, new people who joined us, because this book fair, our book fair, traditionally is of course held in this central part in the capital, and we have a lot of people coming every year from the capital city. But for the rest of the country, for the cities who are far away from us, it's not possible to be the part of the big fair. And for them, it was really huge and great and amazing opportunity to be for the first time in their life, to be the part of the book fairs, to attend the events, and to buy the books with huge discounts and so on, and to get them then at home after buying the books. So, and for the publishers, it was also something very new and very good, because they also had the new audiences who bought the books from them, and it was also very good for them. So what we think now, after 1 year, of course, we did not plan that we were in the same situation just now, because still we are thinking about the hybrid book fair. Of course, we are very much looking forward to have the physical one as well, but we are not yet sure will it be possible or not, but we are trying our best now. But what we really know, we know that we will have this hybrid one, and we will remain this new directions which we learned from this 2020, from 2020, what we learned. So this is in terms of book fairs, and I think that nearly it was the same in case of international book fairs, because we organize as an association Georgian national book stands in different international book fairs like London, like Frankfurt Book Fair, and so on. And we very often we have the discussions with the Frankfurt Book Fair, and they also said that during their virtual book fair they had new audiences. And also I think that a very important advantage was that small publishers from all around the world, from Georgia but from other countries as well, very small publishers who were not able to travel. For them, this was also a possibility to attend this very important book fair like Frankfurt, for example, virtually, and to just see what's going on there, how it works, to meet the people. And for them, I think that it was very important experience. So, of course, we long for these personal meetings, to have this huge celebration, to meet each other, to be together, and to see all these writers, all these brilliant publishers in these pavilions. It's really an unreplaced feelings, I think so. But also I think that we should think about the small publishers who were not able to experience this before. And now I think that the future of the book fairs will be that they will remain some virtual parts, and more publishers will be able to experience this celebration, I can say, and to be the part of this whole publishing community. And what was also the advantage? I think that we stayed connected, and even more connected than before pandemic, we publishers, I mean, and we became more supportive to each other. Even from the perspective of International Publishers Association, I was thinking there that a lot of publishers were trying to do their best to support each other. They were just even today, the association is working on creating IPA Academy, and a lot of publishers for free are giving us their materials, which will be very helpful for rest of the publishers who are experiencing huge challenges today. So I think that we should look at it from two sides. Of course, it was a year of huge losses, sadly and unfortunately, but also we learned a lot, and we should remain what we learned from this year, and of course go forward and be positive that we will survive. We survived already, and we will do very well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This term hybrid has been coming up in various discussions, and I would like to request Mr. Andy Ventris to give his perspective on the entire issue and how London Book Fair is placed, because it's an important book fair and everybody looks forward to London Book Fair. So how it is placed, what are your plans, and how do you view this concept or which is being suggested about the hybrid book fairs, and do you have any plans for those elements?
Thank you very much, Vikram, and thank you, Enga, again for this opportunity from the New Delhi World Book Fair. It's fantastic to be able to be on a platform with such wonderful speakers and representatives from all over the world. It really does demonstrate how able we are to be able to connect and to have a conversation which, from my perspective, I've been having a similar conversation for many months with many different people. But it's great to have it in an open forum and to be able to have this conversation openly with our audiences and with our consumers and with those who love and care about passionately about publishing as an industry. From our perspective, obviously the focus from my side is to really understand what is the future of book fairs, what is the future of publishing, and the two are intertwined clearly because we run our events in a way that facilitates the industry. That's the bottom line. We arrange the events to make sure that we meet all of the objectives of all of our. And the first thing I would say is that we have the great thing about working for a brand like the London Book is how diverse and wide-ranging the community is that we represent and that we therefore help to grow their businesses. So we have stakeholders in every conceivable role and situation: small businesses, large businesses, local, global businesses, individuals, government organizations, not-for-profit organizations, authors, illustrators, editors, publishers, rights professionals. So we cover all aspects, and it's been really fascinating to see over the last few months since I took this role that everyone has a different objective when it comes to attending book fairs. Now, some of them may be similar if you were to speak to similar companies of similar sizes, but there are so many different objectives from attending live book fairs, and some of the points that have already been raised are extremely relevant to how we're approaching the London Book Fair in the future, because it isn't a case of trying to deliver something which is a one-size-fits-all solution for the industry, because it's so broad and it has so many different aspects. And I think one thing that we've all realized during the pandemic is the importance of really focusing on what it is that we want to achieve, and really wanting to try and understand how we can, as a business, facilitate that for our customers. So we're spending a lot of time trying to listen to customers, to understand their perspectives and see how their businesses have changed and are changing during this time. So all of this is really fascinating to learn, and this is all even more information for us. In many ways, as Gvantsa went through earlier, in many ways physical trade fairs cannot be wholly replaced because they cater for this wide-ranging audience, but they still create individual opportunities to achieve business objectives. So you'll have a clear reason for attending a physical book fair, but whilst you're there, you may well discover something which you did not even realize that you were going to come across. And that's so important. And it's the same in all aspects of face-to-face interactions. Robert mentioned the shopping experience with buying books. And it's the same in terms of the experience that you have from meeting people face-to-face that you do business with. There is nothing quite like it. And uncovering something new which changes your perspective on a view or on a piece. And as such, obviously, trade fairs, the other thing which trade fairs do offer is that unrivaled opportunity to achieve so much in a little space of time. And that's something which I think all of us have been trying to translate that digitally and virtually in recent months and years, well, in a year as it is now. I think the one interesting point I picked up from another call I was on before, where talking about the difference between virtual events, and why are we calling them all virtual? Because virtual suggests that it's not real. And you know, these are real events. They're digital. Yes, they take place digitally, but they're still very real. And we need to remember that whilst they are virtual in how we currently use them, perhaps the word digital is better to use across many of these platforms. And also, we've used the word hybrid quite a lot. It's a very broad term, which it would be good to discuss a little bit more how that looks for everyone and what they think that looks like. When it comes to the London Book Fair itself and to virtual solutions, like everyone else, we've been looking and learning and understanding what is the value that they bring. The most important thing in my eyes is not to try and replicate the exact experience that you would get from attending a book fair in person, because it's a different experience, as every digital experience is different from an in-person experience. There's no point trying to exactly replicate what you feel, because there's other benefits from a digital experience. So as I said before, we're trying to focus on what the specific needs are of our customers to deliver that. So with live events, you want to create the opportunity for an attendee. As an event organizer, you want to guide your customers to some extent. You want them to feel that they can pick and choose what they want to see, but they feel that they're still given some guidance. I feel that at this stage anyway, digital events need to be a little bit more prescriptive and guided in helping people find what those solutions are, because we don't want to attend a digital or virtual event for 6 or 7 hours in a day and not feel like we know what we're doing. We don't just want to be window shopping online, because it takes up a lot of our time. And we have, you know, as we've said before, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have more time, as Alexandra said, just because we're, you know, potentially not traveling or working from home maybe. And there are more distractions when it comes to a digital event. When you attend a physical event, when you're physically in a place, you obviously want to make sure that you are focused on being there, and that it grabs your attention because it's all encompassing. And we want to try and make sure that digital events can do that to a certain extent, but also give people the opportunity to step in and out, so they feel involved as much as they want to be involved, but the involvement has to be on their terms as well. So what it means in terms of our different scenarios, we're looking, as all of the global book fairs are now, we're looking at creating hybrid solutions for London Book Fair this year. As you'll know, the London Book Fair in 2021 was moved from March to the date at the end of June. So currently we're still working towards the live event at the end of June. In the UK, we've had a very good response to vaccinations and to the response to the pandemic, but we're also not getting ahead of ourselves and assuming that a live book fair at the end of June is going to be enough for everyone. This is a really international business that we're in, and it's really important for us to understand that we want to create opportunities for everyone to get together. And as I say, the value is in question when it comes down to it. We want to make sure that when we do ask our customers to support us on running the event, that they feel that they are getting the value that we wish to that they would wish to get from us. So the final thing I would end on, and I'd be very interested to discuss all of these topics with everyone. And I think Gvantsa said this as well, in terms of when we do run live fairs again, it's certainly going to be a celebration. And I do think this is an important thing for the industry to get behind, is that when we attend events, and we're all business people here, when we attend events, we're very focused on achieving our objectives, focused on making sure that we meet the right people and have the right conversations. And sometimes it's okay, I think, to look up and for us to look around and take in the broader view of what it is that has been achieved from the industry, and also celebrate that together. So I think it's really important that when we do get back, one of the things we'll be really focusing on is that celebration and making people feel part of what is a fantastic, and as someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Alexandra, a resilient industry, because it's not been easy for people, but I think that we need to celebrate that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for your detailed remarks. And yes, you are right when you say that if we really go linguistically, we should not be calling it virtual, in the sense that the real interactions and maybe real business would be happening. And yes, it would be a digital format. But yes, one-to-one, as you said, has its own advantages. And I would like to go back to Mr. Robert Morgan, because he, from the publisher's point of view, or from somebody who participates or who is a participant or a visitor to a book fair, when, of course, we have our well set out appointments and many other structured negotiations, but many a time the walk-ins that you get in physical book fairs, out of blue, you meet people whom you had never thought about, or so those things would be missing in a virtual or digital book fair. So, Mr. Morgan, what would be your take on this?
Thank you, Vikram. Before I get to that question, I want to do a quick follow-up on two important points that Gvantsa and Andrea did. I think Gvantsa brought out a very important issue when she mentioned about smaller publishers in smaller countries, and that let's stop calling them virtual, let they call them hybrid book fairs. They actually can visit and be a part of it. But I also believe due to the nature of the hybrid book fairs, it's also a big opportunity for smaller publishing markets, especially in developing countries, to actually bring their publishing business, their publishers and their authors into the international spotlight. So we can go and see and experience them. So I see it's an opportunity for smaller markets in developing countries to actually participate more in hybrid book fairs. To be honest, we almost never go to smaller international book fairs, remote parts of the world. It's not because we don't want to, we really do, but simply because we don't have the time or the resources or both. And generally speaking, you can't exhibit or attend every book fair in the world because there are just too many of them. So I sincerely hope that publishing industry in the smaller developing countries will seize this opportunity and they will embrace the hybrid book fairs more, because it's one of those good thing, bad thing that may actually be another opportunities are for them. And also, just a quick follow-up on Andy said, of course, the industry is waiting for the next book fair, whatever it might be. We all craving book fairs. We all want to be at the book fair. We're ready to jump on the plane and go. And actually, I don't think the industry would mind if there are all kinds of safety precautions and if we have to wear masks or talk through plexiglass. And as Gvantsa probably remember, we did that in Sharjah. Last year when we walked into Sharjah, a book fair, well, the publisher conference component of it, for me personally, it was shocking. It was a rights fair settings that I've never seen before in my life, and I've been to many of those. You walk into the rights fair settings and you see tables with plexiglass and you see hand sanitizers. That was a hit of the season, by the way, those bottles with sanitizers. And we were constantly reminded that we have to wear masks and all the time and talk through plexiglass. And actually, we didn't mind. Even though it was kind of shocking, I think the second day we actually started making fun of it and we realized, okay, this is going to be the part of the new normal. So whatever the settings of the next in-person book fair is going to be, I think we will be ready to embrace it as publishers. There is no question about it. Whatever the model is, whatever the setting is, I'm sure the publishing industry will embrace it greatly. That's my take on that. And we so much look forward to it. I'm looking at the rate of vaccinations around the world. It is slow, even.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to come back to the Director of National Book Trust, because there are 2 points which have emerged in these discussions, and as also the organizer of New Delhi World Book Fair, as the fair director of New Delhi World Book Fair, and as an agency, as the book promotion agency, we participate in international book fairs with collective exhibits, and we carry books of the small publishers, focused on the small publishers who cannot represent themselves. So the 2 points that have emerged, one is that the virtual book fair will become more accessible, and two, that there is a strong possibility of a hybrid form of book fairs happening. So from the point of view of National Book Trust as a book promotion agency and as the organizer of New Delhi World Book Fair, I would like to have some quick remarks from Mr. Malik.
Thank you so much, Vikramji. And whatever inputs my learned esteemed panelists have been sharing, they have been very, very pertinent in the changing scenario. See, what we are doing is actually, people say it's a virtual book fair, but I personally feel it is not only virtual, it is hybrid in a way that some of the events which are going, they are in person. We have our full team functional to be here, and then we are broadcasting. In days to come, I personally feel when New Delhi Book Fair will resume its regular the edition, I feel the wider context, the participants need to be connected virtually as well. So this new addition of virtual will tag along with the physical events henceforth. We cannot run away from this reality that people who are not able to join for regular events, because how many times Mr. Ende will travel to India when we have every month a book fair in one part of the country? Once in a year, twice in a year. But if you want to participate and make an outreach, out of 10, 2 times he can come, 8 times he has to be linked with us virtually. So that is the power of technology that has given a knock, and we must accept into our routine and profession. Second part, which was very important, which I listened from my brother officers, brother participants here, that when we are planning these, virtual book fairs, we must seriously start thinking about future collaborations. Now you cannot survive in New Delhi Book Fair as such. You cannot survive London Book Fair as such. The world has become global. We have to have integration of these international events, collaborations, and support each other and take along the full industry out. That is the only way now. If we think we can survive in isolation, I'm sorry, this pandemic has shown the real face to every publisher in this world. The time has come. We have to seek collaboration. We have to seek cooperation. We have to have joint mentorship. We have to have synergy. We have to also have resource sharing, because in India, what I can do without any expenditure, similarly, Mr. Andy can do in London, because he's the man on ground. I'm the man on ground here. So this resource sharing, this collaboration, partnership, these modules have to be worked out. How do we share our resource people, authors, content, participation? So the in future, I feel being reciprocal is the way.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point to make, and I think this call for collaborations, and we have all been brought up on this on this idea of having your own brand and promoting it at the book fair. But now all these boundaries have been willy-nilly, it has been sort of broken down, and in the times of crisis, we reached out. Sir, please.
Thank you so much. I'll invite my friend Mr. Andy. I had one meeting earlier also. So we can really think something New Delhi, London Book Fair. Some kind of, technology will, and as such, India and UK, and we have 75 year of association. We are celebrating 75 year of independence. If we can show some synergy as two nations or two events, so it will be a, chapter to in a history which other people in the industry will learn. Someday you will find New Delhi, Paris Book Fair. What is this New Delhi and Paris Book Fair? Two continents linking together. So that is the power of technology and knowledge that we should start thinking now. And at least one event we can try on trial basis, and slowly we can do capacity building, because let me tell you, 135 crore people and majority of them are speaking English. It makes sense.
Yes, we would like to have a quick response from Mr. Andy Ventris and also the other two panelists who are into book fairs and literary festivals, and Alexandra and Gvantsa, on this issue, because that makes it very interesting discussion.
It certainly is, and I think the points that Ms. Malik makes are very, very valid in terms of the need to participate and the need to arrange collaborations globally, which is something which we pride ourselves in doing at the London Book Fair, and we continue to do so. And I think it's important that we work together on these solutions. We're attending this event because we want to be part of this event, and we want to be involved and understand more about how we can work together, and vice versa. And we do this across the globe. We work with a number of different partners globally just to make sure that we feel that we're supporting the whole industry. We don't try and compete on this way. It's more a case of supporting the industry because it has a lot of space. So I agree very much so. I think there's opportunities for collaboration, and I look forward to them.
Yeah, Ms. Alexandra.
Well, as they say, collaboration and cooperation is my middle name. This is really how we have been working for 20 years now. I think what we need to do is we need to find ways of cooperating, of pooling resources, and pooling knowledge. And what has been suggested, for example, is something that would be brilliant, to have this kind of focus on a particular region, country, and so on. But that's already happening. So, what else can we do? We have the guest of honor, we have the market focus at the London Book Fair. So, how can we develop this model is the question. I'd like to briefly focus on the Literary Translation Centre at the London Book Fair. And it's an example of how, when you create a space, and I will really miss the kind of crowd that always gathers there. Andy wasn't able to experience it last year. And there's something significant about the fact that last year, and I was very sad about it, that the Literary Translation Centre actually celebrated its 10th anniversary, and it couldn't take place. Well, the first time it took place was also a very challenging time for the London Book Fair. It was 2010 when the volcano erupted in Iceland, and we were shown the power of nature. And nature in a tiny place, nobody could travel. It completely disrupted travel across Europe, and so international visitors couldn't come to the London Book Fair. Well, we prepared the Translation Centre, and because British publishers and those who could come from near, maybe by train and so on, were there, and their meetings were cancelled and so on. So they all came to the Literary Translation Centre. We did drinks, in the morning already, and happy hour at 10 o'clock, and it somehow introduced this space to people who could be there, and then it thrived. So I think it's all about finding each other, creating spaces where we can have dialogue, where we can share ideas. I know it sounds like, kind of commonplace statements, but it is something that is meaningful. And so, yes, I think we need to continue thinking about how to connect like this. And before I finish, I would like to say that we are another example of how we work. We are launching a kind of pilot project with 3 Indian universities next week, where 3 writers from Europe, from all 3 from very small countries, one being from Georgia, will be doing creative writing workshops with Indian students, focusing on how we retell myths and legends and national epics and give them contemporary meaning. And I don't know if Gvantsa knows this, but the famous epic of the Georgians, the knight in panther skin, has been actually translated into Hindi quite recently and published with beautiful miniature illustrations. So these are examples of very small, grassroots, on-the-ground activities that bring people together and create spaces for exchange of ideas.
Yeah, Gvantsa. Quick response.
Yeah, it was news for me. I had now this information, and thank you, Alexandra, for being such a big friend of Georgia. I want to mention this for many years already, and yes, I think that we are lucky to have you, and it's really great news. Thank you for it. And as for the book fairs, yeah, I think that what Robert mentioned, yes, we had this opportunity during 2020 to go to Sharjah. And as soon as we were offered to go there, we agreed because I think that we took this risk somehow, but it was very important. I think that it was really, really important that all these publishers who decided to go there in November, in the beginning of November, for us, it was very productive also, these meetings there, personally meeting the people. So as soon as we have one more opportunity I hope, from London Book Fair, I think that many of us will decide and go there. So we are very much looking forward, because for me personally, it was the very first sad news as soon as the pandemic started, that London Book Fair was the first one. We were just already packed. We were going there to build the national stand of Georgia, but then it happened what happened, we know. And I think that maybe London Book Fair can be the first global book fair which will manage to have the after pandemic first not only virtual but physical book fair as well. I wish you all the luck, because not only for the international publishers, for example, for International Publishers Association, London Book Fair and Frankfurt Book Fair, these are 2 central book fairs where we have plenty of events and we are really doing a lot of business there. So we need the book fairs, and I hope that it happens. And also from the perspective of small book fairs like us, for example, I should say that yes, we are new and small market where not all the publishers from all around the world can travel, of course. But this is the opportunity for us, because virtually or in digital way, we have the chance to have very experienced panelists who maybe can't travel, but who are open to have this digital events together with our book fair and some other small book fairs, of course, many other small book fairs which exist in the world. And for this high professionals, these are new markets as well, of course, and it can be somehow interesting to learn more about the small markets as well. So I think that, yeah, what we learn, we will follow this, and we will find more ways and more projects and more possibilities to stay connected. And I think that now it's time to rejoin and to meet each other in different book fairs. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the end of June, and let's see what happens. So I think that, yeah, and one last thing what I wanted to say, I think that it's just about the books and reading. The pandemic showed us that book is something really eternal. because even in the situation of the pandemic, people started speaking and looking for books, and it means something very important. I think that we had these huge challenges and the whole world changed, but the book was there where it was, and people were asking for books, and it means really a lot that this is very eternal, and we should go on working hard to survive and to become better than we were before pandemic. So it's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have had a very interesting, very engaging, and I would say quite a frank discussion on the issues that are on the table. And of course, we can. There are many issues to discuss, but there is limitation of time. But it's very good that we were able to connect, and innovation, collaboration, the hybrid approach, the sharing of resources. I think these are some of the areas and some of the perspectives which are emerging and which will maybe become clearer in the times to come. And maybe the future is bright, and because we have to sort of make it bright. And on that note, I would like to end the session, and I am really very thankful to all the speakers and the panelists who could find time to be with us, and we hope to find further avenues and other platforms to discuss and maybe to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vikramji, and all of you are welcome to India. NBT is there to this unofficial discussion with Mr. Andy, Ms. Gvantsa, Ms. Alexandra, and my friend. So I was discussing with Vikram, whenever your delegations, your authors, their panels, you are coming. Vikram is heading the foreign division. He's heading the international cooperation. He's also heading the project. So all three things. So he will be able to facilitate your visits to the places you want to visit in India with local support, local authors, and get you to interact with the authors from different languages, different places, and with different streams. So that's what we are pursuing now. So if the author fraternity from your part of the world wish to come, or from your events wish to come, we would love